So we started looking at the texting from the advisors to customers. And I'm a pretty tough person, but I got to tell you, I was even scared by what I saw, all caps on this and shorthand and all sorts of stuff. So we developed something called ProTexts, where we were able to, you type in, yep, come get your car at 5. And then it shows, yep, come get your car at 5. And it says, yes, 5 would be perfect. Looking forward to seeing you, all grammatically correct and professional.
Welcome back to the State of Business Texting podcast, where we are talking all things messaging. I'm your host, Zach Kunkel, Director of Solution Marketing here at Bandwidth.
And I'm Tim Sherwood, backup host extraordinaire, also serving as our SVP of the messaging product. Today, we got a really exciting episode because we have a Textie Award winner joining us.
Woo-woo. The Textie Awards, just a little bit about those. They are our annual customer awards, which highlight the really outstanding use cases and creative innovations that platforms are creating in the A2P messaging space.
And today, really excited to have our guest, as I said, Textie Award winner, Joe Shaker, CEO of TruVideo. Welcome, Joe.
Nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yep.
Congrats, Joe. Congrats.
Appreciate it.
So maybe we can just get started today, Joe, with a little bit more of an introduction to yourself and a little bit more about TruVideo.
Yeah, so my history is I'm an auto dealer. I've been officially a dealer since I was 24 years old. Have an auto group in the New England area, Connecticut and Massachusetts. And, really had a really great business and still do. And just I fear disruption. And I was always nervous about not serving my customers. So generally what I do is I go to customers, and I went to my customers, pulled a bunch of repair orders out of service, and called some of these customers. And there were great conversations. The customers bought 3 cars. 75% of the time they knew the service advisor by name, were really happy. But they'd spent a lot of money. So I thanked them for the kind words and for being a customer. And then I asked them the old detective question at the end. I go, I have one last question. Did you ever have any doubts? And every single one of these best customers all paused and said, yeah, we're always going to have doubts, right? You can't see what's going on back there. And I was like, wow, that's not good. I don't know any relationship that is a great relationship where people have doubts. So that's what started it. I also went to a couple of marketing things I've been going to over the years, and I had CMOs of companies talking about transparency and trust like it was a punchline and never really executing on that. A friend of mine who was a technologist, and I was investing in private deals with him, and I asked him if he could help me start it up and build something. And he didn't join the company at the time. We didn't even have a company. We kind of built it out, tested it for a couple of years at my dealerships and then in multiple dealer groups with friends. And it just really exploded to the point where the customer experience was higher. The revenues were higher. Everything was exploding by not changing the way we do business, but changing the way we communicate. Then we decided to make it a real company. And then my partner, today Douglas, who was my friend at the time, the technologist, joined as a co-founder. And then the rest is history.
That's awesome. That's awesome, Joe. And maybe just for our podcast listeners, pretty cool that I've actually had firsthand experience with TruVideo. So I have bought both my wife and I's car from the Fred Anderson Toyota Group in Raleigh or in North Carolina. And their service department actually is a TruVideo customer that utilized TruVideo. And so just the way I've experienced it, and maybe you can help elaborate if I leave anything out, I drop my car off, whether I'm sitting in the lobby or if I get someone to pick me up, the service technician will actually do an analysis of my car, whatever I'm needing done. And then they will send me a video as they walk around the car, kind of open up the hood, talk about what they're going to do. And then after that video, there's an option for me to accept or decline services that I would like done. And then that is all facilitated through this text. And I can click into a link and see all these videos and see all these services potentially for me to accept or decline. So pretty cool. To your point, it has removed the obfuscation, I guess, the ambiguity of like what actually happens back there. What are they actually doing?
Yeah, well, I'll add a couple things. Number one is that's a great group to do business with. They were very early adopters, incredibly, sharp dealer group there, the Fred Anderson group. Man, they're amazing, and they gave us really a lot of early comments and stuff that helped us shape our business. TruVideo, sells direct to customers, but our video technologies also power the leading software businesses in the automotive space. We really started, embedding our SDKs and our technologies inside all the big software providers to the point where we're probably just on the service side, not even on the sales side, we're probably about 70+% of the videos happening in the whole United States right now for after sales. So
wow.
That's the first piece. The second piece is I learned a lot of things. Like I first started by saying, I want customers to see and understand what's happening. That was the initial knee-jerk reaction.
Mm-hmm.
Then I learned a lot of things. The first thing was we had wind in our sails. 8 billion videos were being watched on Facebook alone. Forget about TikTok, YouTube, and everything else. Video is not a customer behavior. Video is a human behavior. I think it's 7 hours watched a day. That's how people consume information, period. So that blew wind in our sails. And obviously messaging was our delivery mechanism. And there's 1 trillion texts a day that happen, or some craziness of the amount of messaging. And asynchronous communication and messaging also provides a better experience. And I'll give you an example of that. So another human behavior is multitasking or hypertasking. So if I have you on hold for 1 minute and 30 seconds, that seems like an eternity because you're really not able to multitask, which is a standard thing that people do. Someone will come up to you and you'll go, no, I'm on the phone. But I can get back to you 400% later in 6 minutes. And you're going to grab your mobile device and go, oh my God, great, they got back to me. So I'm going to get back to you later and you're going to love it. It's like jumbo shrimp almost, right? So it's really crazy how asynchronous is the behavior of is making things more at your leisure. I can answer when I'm appropriate. You're not interrupting me in the middle of a conversation. And then delivering that message, showing everything from the doctor, not the receptionist, to throw a little healthcare, metaphor in there, right?
Right.
Is incredible. The second thing we learned with video, which is that we saw 34% of the videos being shared. And I didn't realize at the time that 34% of the people had a co-decision maker, or they weren't actually the decision maker. So previously, a technician would make 5 recommendations. The service advisor would water them down to 3 because they were afraid, thinking with their wallet, not yours. Or they didn't trust the technician. They thought the technician might be overselling. And I was like, God, we're trying to solve trust with customers and there's an internal trust issue. Never thought of that. Either way, the 5 went to 3. They called the customer on the phone, verbally articulated tie rod or whatever, CV boot. And they were like, oh, okay. And then they would call their significant other or confidant 34% of the time and say they said a BT boot or whatever. So it was like a crazy version of phone game.
Yeah, telephone.
Yeah, telephone game, right? Except it wasn't a brown bear that turned into a red dragon after 12 kids. So really what happened was it inadvertently, we fixed the communication chain. So we were fixing trust internally, externally with customers. People were seeing and understanding, and everybody was getting the same transparent message from the doctor, not the receptionist, through the whole communication chain. And those are some of the aha moments that happened after the initial thing of, hey, I just want you to see and understand. And then all sorts of cards started flipping over. The asynchronous thing I told you about, the fixing the communication piece, and it just kept getting better. And then having the wins of customer and human behavior be with video consumption and messaging being a preferred, communication way with customers in their best businesses, it just kept going and going and going.
Joe, I'm curious, were there any objections that were raised from the dealerships or the service organizations? Because, as you said, transparency is sometimes can be looked at as a punchline or maybe a platitude, but then actually working to share and make things more visible, sometimes people resist. Just wondering if there are any objections and how you overcame them from the auto dealerships or the service organization.
No, the dealers wanted customers to see and understand. It drove the numbers. There's, really, I think you guys, like you said you use Fred Anderson, right? So Fred Anderson is like a phenomenal dealership, right? The phenomenal group, but not even good, like phenomenal, right? But the thing is that if you get service done and you're unsure, you're skeptical of them. And you're like, well, they're a car dealer. The whole time they've been doing a great job. It's never been clearly articulated that they're doing a great job. So you hear all these things like, oh, you better be worried about, you never had to be worried about service, but because you didn't see and your mind was filled with doubt and your mind would race. And by the way, you know what it did for a lot of dealers? When you had to show it, there was no nefarious, if there was a nefarious tech out of 100, they couldn't get away with it anymore because they had to show it.
Yeah.
Right? So that, how they say it takes a second to ruin a reputation that took you 100 years to build, as dealers, man, we don't want any of that stuff going on. If we ever catch somebody with that, we'll not only let them go, we'll let everybody know that calls us later that they're nefarious. So it was a really great quality control mechanism. By the way, the response times after a video were 2 minutes, 37 seconds. We were recording every bit of data as to how the customers were engaging. It was a new real form of data sets, not like a website, right? With an IP address, time on site, bounce rate, and stuff like that. This was data that was in and around the transaction. Like there is no data that exists. Like how many times did they watch it? Did they share it? We started recording and we're doing things today that from the messaging lines, I could tell you how someone feels right now, this second. I don't have to wait 4 days for a survey that's too late. So it's incredible the things that we've learned and the improvements. And the dealers' customer satisfaction ratings went up, they exploded, and the dealer sales went up simultaneously because just by fixing the way we communicated.
Joe, what you were saying reminds me of a quote, one of my favorite ones, and it's an old Dutch saying that says, trust arrives on foot but leaves on horseback. And it's essentially just saying how long it takes to build trust, but how quickly it can erode. And it feels like the dealers, the service departments in general, they were trying to establish, maintain trust. And that's really a problem it feels like you guys are helping solve. So I kind of want to segue into, you've talked about tailwinds, you've talked about technology and how you're taking advantage of some of these tools. It wouldn't be a messaging podcast or a technology podcast unless we talked about AI. And so here we are. You guys, you already elaborated and told a little bit about how you're taking basic messaging above and beyond, but you're also integrating AI. And so I wanted to give you a chance to talk about how AI integration is creating a better customer experience for these automotive dealers, and maybe just sharing how you're utilizing AI within the platform.
So we're using AI in multiple ways, right? So I'll go with the most basic. So we simply use, you hear a lot with AI, you're talking about language models, right? I'm going to show you some language model stuff and some AI that's not language models, which is more interesting to me. But as far as what we did was we said, well, first off, we saw that, 98% of customer experience is how well or how poorly you communicate. And probably 90% of revenue. And that's one thing I learned. And the funny thing is when you look at most of the software companies in the automotive space, they spent 98% of their development time on workflow. And so I finally realized after all these years that I never had a customer ever come up to me and say, hey, I had a great experience at your service department. You guys have great workflows. Like, no one cares about workflow. So what's interesting is that we just kept focusing on communication. So we delivered a transparent message to the customer. They could see and understand. That was great. And then the messaging back and forth made things a lot quicker, right? Because I could message you in a meeting. You can't take a phone call in the middle of this podcast right now, right? You can't take a phone call in the middle of a meeting, but you could message back and forth. And with videos, we added subtitles and, you can read and you could send something back. You can change the subtitles to another language, which is stuff that we were, really the first to do. So it's like watching a Netflix, movie from another country, which is already a human behavior, right? With all the different movies we've watched now on Netflix. And so what we did was we said, well, let's help with the advisors. So we started looking at the texting from the advisors to customers. And we said, let's take a look at what that stuff looks like. So we pulled it, and I'm a pretty tough person, but I got to tell you, I was even scared by what I saw, all caps on this and shorthand and all sorts of stuff. So we developed something called ProTexts, where we were able to, you type in, yep, come get your car at 5. And then it shows, yep, come get your car at 5. And it says, yes, 5 would be perfect. Looking forward to seeing you, all grammatically correct and professional. We even have it obviously with language, right? So you can text me in Mandarin or whatever, and it notices that you're texting me in Mandarin. It translates to me in English, and I'll say, yes, 5 p.m. would be perfect. And then I press send. It says, here's what you said. And then it shows me the Mandarin, and we'll send it back to Mandarin or one of the 50 languages back to the customer. So there was another one-liner that I figured we handled with that. I always heard marketing conferences, personalization. And I was like, is there anything more personal than speaking to someone in their own language? Right. So we were able to nail down or execute on another punchline. Then we created, like smart replies or, so someone actually sent a text in one time and said, hey, last night I hit a deer and I was wondering if it was covered under warranty. And the model actually provided the answers. We provide them in a neutral or a negative or a positive or different ways. And one of the smart replies that showed up on the thing, which amazed me, was collisions with animals are generally not covered under warranty, but if you'd like to stop by, we can take a look and see what we can do to help. Right. So we saw advisors shorthanding. So someone would put, like, let's say I shorthanded and I put ready, send. It would say, you said ready, and then it would provide the great set. Yeah, your car is ready. You can come down and grab it, right? We saw a guy, and he might have been a Fred Anderson, actually, that said listo. He put in Spanish, ready. He shorthanded in Spanish, and then the suggestion was spelled out really clear in English because we saw that Tim had sent us, his text in English. So that was really good. We noticed that background noise was a problem. Dolby and some of the stuff that we had used previously wasn't working. So we started using AI noise cancellation, which is freaky to me because it trains to your voice and then it digitally deletes the sounds around that. So it's like taking an antibiotic. I don't even know how that works. You take it and it goes and finds what's wrong with you and kills it. So it's unbelievable. Totally game changer. We have OEMs that have video programs that require the noise cancellation as part of it. So you can actually run an air gun right next to in the bay next door, and you won't hear the air gun go off as the person goes around and describes. We then started, using AI right now. We use AI and machine learning to rate the quality of videos. So we're taking all these, hundreds of millions of videos we have and unstructured data and turning it into structured data. So now we're able to say, hey, that was a good video. That was not, you did not include this, words, phrases, decibels, words per minute, object detection. Did you actually show the tires or not? Right. So, because some people are taking a video, but they're taking a video of a repair order, which the customer doesn't need you to video or a repair order they're going to read anyway. And they're trying to get credit. So once we got to the volume, then we started using AI and stuff to now gauge quality without having to go through 1 million videos and look at them by hand. And so that's a really big thing for us now. Sentiment also, last one I'll give you is, surveys to me have always been flawed, in the auto space. They're 4 days too late, highly manipulated, only 10, 20% send them in. And there's a survey bias. So they have 4 inherent flaws, and we spend billions of dollars reacting to what customers say to surveys. Why don't I just find out how the customer feels right now? So if Tim sent a note in and said, I'm very disappointed, this should have been done earlier, that immediately will, get red flagged and text the manager right to his cell phone. Just as if I heard Tim, his voice was a little louder, his tone of voice or his body language was a little off, and I was physically there. I'd walk right up to Tim and go, what's going on? You're a great customer. We're a great company. Let's take care of it. How do you do that at scale? You do it at scale by using messaging back and forth with customers and detecting when someone has a very negative comment so that you can address that problem instantly. So those are the different ways to use AI, and we use them in a very real, because I'm a dealer, we're not fantasizing as to how they can be used and thinking of this brave new world. We're thinking of like, where are we making mistakes? How do we fix it right now? And that's how we operate.
That is a really impressive list of practical real world AI applications. So
yeah, we've been using that AI, by the way. That AI has been in market for 2.5 years now. All that stuff I just described to you. 2.5 years. It's not like going to come out. So.
That kind of begs the question, looking ahead, what excites you the most, whether it's on the AI front of continuing it, maybe it's stitching together more aspects of the holistic customer journey, maybe it's something around messaging, like rich messaging and what that opens up for you. What are some of the things that excite you looking forward the next 6 to 12 months?
Well, what excites us is, if we're doing 3 million videos a month, is what do we do with that unstructured data? What else can we learn that could help the businesses? Because we're not just in dealerships, we're in trucking, we're in many verticals, right? And so how can we help businesses with video, the condition of your vehicle, me walking around and detecting flaws and having damage detection from the walk around video? Those are things that we're spending a lot of time on. And there's some other crazy stuff that we're doing that, I just won't talk about yet, but maybe next time. But as far as messaging goes, I think obviously rich communication services is going to be very helpful. I'll tell you why, because if you look at the stats on messaging, it's like messages, everybody knows all these. I'm just preaching to the choir, but text messages opened 90 seconds, emails open in 90 minutes. The click-through rates are 4 times better. And customers want a message with their favorite companies and brands. And I think with RCS, when your company is registered and it's verified, it's going to create a great connection with businesses and their best customers. But on the other hand, businesses, I call it like the bat phone. I say it's like Batman gets a call from the inspector. He's got that red phone. Back in the old days, he would call him. He only called them when stuff was important. We have to, as a businesses, we have to say, what's the appropriate amount of time to message a customer? What's the appropriate amount of reasons to message a customer? Because there are certain things that you have that you should, if you have some big sale going on, in my opinion, that's an email execution. If you have something that's, a priority like a recall, that's a messaging execution, right? I think with RCS, it's also the other thing that's going to happen is having that great connection and having it balanced with the business and customer communication levels is important. But I think it's going to really replace a lot of mobile applications that were bad, that should have never probably been built in the first place, right? So being able to make an appointment using our chatbot with this in service, and then being able to select 9, 10, or 11 and not have to type it in, like giving me the multiple choice, showing me 2 cars. Like, these are the 2 cars that you own. Here's your F-150 and here's your Mach-E. Pick which one you want to come in. Like it's going to create a mobile-like experience without being in mobile. Now, I'm not saying that mobile apps are going away, but if you have a mobile app and you've tried to have one, but it wasn't really adopted, it might not be necessary anymore to have that. It'd be better to go all in on, getting that direct connection with your customer and using, the rich communication services and having the right real-time experiences or agents to serve your customer in a far better way. And that excites me.
Yeah. And I mean, to your point, whether the mobile app is built really well or not, you as a company or you as a application builder, you're just not going to have 100% download of the application. And so kind of what you're getting at is with RCS, if you have a text-enabled phone and it's, of a recent year, you're going to be able to receive these rich media messages and it be conversational right to your text inbox. So love it. I am equally as excited about seeing the adoption and uptick of RBM in North America. And it seems like you are too. So the last question, Joe, that we always want to ask and we want to leave people with is, what's the best text that you've actually received this week?
This week?
This week. What you got?
Oh man, it's so hard to ask somebody that question, right? They get so many texts.
Exactly. You gotta be selective. Maybe give us a top 2 or a Mount Rushmore
of texts I got this week. God, man, weeding them down. That's a great question to ask at the end of a podcast like this. So for me, it's I'm into life's simple pleasures. So, and right now we're in New England and I'm up in Boston area here. So we spend some time on the Cape in the summer. So it either had to do with, what day are you going to be, do you want to play golf or what are we having for barbecue? Something along those lines. Cause, in New England, summers are so valuable because, fall is beautiful. Spring is beautiful. The winter stinks, in my opinion. I'm not a skier and stuff, so I make it. I don't like it as much, but yeah, those would be the 2 texts relating to doing something fun, and or what are we going to barbecue this weekend? Something as simple as that.
Love it. What did you guys end up cooking on the grill?
Oh, we try everything.
Burgers, dogs.
Yeah.
Anything.
We'll even get all sorts of different meat. We're going to do pizza on the grill. You have to make pizzas on the grill. That's a fun thing to do.
I have done that. It is really fun.
Yeah.
I'm going to add that to my bucket list. Never tried that.
Yeah.
Do you have a specific pizza grill, like pizza oven sort of thing? Okay.
No, we don't have it.
You're just going to give it a shot.
No, you do pizza on the grill. Yeah, we've done it. It's just, you just got to set it up right. I'm sure you can find a video. Speaking of videos, I'm sure you can find a video of how to do that.
Way to tie it back. Man, you're a professional.
Hey, listen, yeah, I'm a consummate learner, as you could tell from the starting to produce videos to help people see and understand to now managing AI and comms and the full communication suite here. It's, whether it's a pizza on a grill or it's messaging, I'm constantly learning.
That's awesome. This has been super great, Joe. And again, congrats on the Textie Award. Thanks for being a great customer of Bandwidth and a great partner. And thanks for sharing and educating us all on the value that texting is driving for your company and how video and multimedia is helping drive trust in the automotive industry, but just at large as well. If people would like to connect with you, Joe, online, maybe your LinkedIn, how could they learn more about you or about TruVideo?
It's pretty simple to find TruVideo.com, or my email is joe@TruVideo.com.
Well, thanks, Joe, again. And thanks, listeners, for tuning in. You can catch up on all our recent State of Business Texting episodes wherever you get your podcasts. And again, if you want to learn more about our Textie Award program or the Textie Award winners, you can go to bandwidth.com/texties. And you can watch our award show replay and learn more about all the winners, Joe and others included. And also be sure to head over to stateofmessaging.com to download your free copy of the 2025 State of Messaging Report. Joe, Tim, thanks as always. And we hope you all have a good day wherever you're listening from.
Thanks all. Take
Thanks.
care.
Thank you, guys.